The session is titled Meet the Parents, and Daman will speak of her memories of pre-Prime Ministerial Manmohan Singh, and Rita D will take over very shortly. However, sorry? There is, with sincere regret, we have to make an announcement that is a big blow to all of us, and that is that Mr. Arun Shori will not be able to make it for his session. His wife has fallen ill, very, very suddenly and very gravely ill. He has had to stay back to take care of her. We express our sincere regrets, but we couldn't possibly have known. We were informed at the very last minute, which is today, and we have no way of actually replacing him with anyone else. He's irreplaceable at the best of times. Alongside this session, we are also having the Shunil Gangopadhyay Memorial Session at the Western Quadrangle, titled Bhobishyoter Bhasha, featuring Gautam Bhadra, Shapnamoy Chakraborty, and Chondril in conversation with Dr. Jayanto Sengupta. So for those of you who wish to attend Bhobishyoter Bhasha, the Shunil Gangopadhyay Memorial Session, it is at the Western Quadrangle. And now over to you, Rita Di.
Yeah, definitely, especially if they ask unsavory questions.
I don't mind unsavory.
Okay, I like that.
Honestly,
I
I
love
don't.
that.
Spice it up.
Um, Welcome to this session, which has been very aptly titled Meet the Parents. I know you get other visions of this movie of meeting the parents, but this is going to be very, very different, especially because it comes from Daman Singh, who is the middling daughter of former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. The middling to me is always a very interesting person because they are the ones who are squeezed in between and they are the most unusual of people and the most creative also, I've found. There have been novels written about the middling. Just, yes, go ahead.
How do I switch this on?
I think it's on.
It's on? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I do agree that the middle child always gets squeezed from, above as well as below. But I wouldn't say I'm the most creative of the three. I think all three of us are equally creative. If I said anything different, my sisters would kill me.
I know they've qualified very, very well, but what you have done is quite incredible because Daman is a novelist. She's written a couple of very interesting novels. And of course, she has been in developmental work for 20 years. So her works are also based on that. And this is the first biography and hope it's not the last. A lot of people are wanting her to write a sequel to this. But let's first get on with this particular book. This is what the book looks like. I personally feel that she's done a very warm, personal, uh, Boswellian documentation in this book, which is called Strictly Personal. And I think in a very readable manner, she's managed to chronicle the life of an individual who led India for 10 years. And she has also chronicled something wonderful alongside it, and that is his very strong, highly supportive wife, Gursharan Kaur. And we will see her in a new light, which is what is so interesting, not just as a helpmeet, but as someone who has, I feel, kept the family ticking together, and also someone who had her own musical talents. But we'll come to that very shortly. Right now, I just wanted to say something to all of you about biographies. Because whenever we pick up a biography, we want the biography to be maybe a little intrusive, maybe very, very gossipy, perhaps a little salacious. Um, Sometimes biographies tend to be even vituperative, they tend to be vengeful. But I would like to start off by asking Daman Singh to take us through the idea of writing a biography, which I think is tender and yet telling, which extensively researches Manmohan Singh's policies, but also, in a way, reveals and reassures us about a reclusive academician turned civil servant turned politician. I think she has brought out something about this man. He's a man of substance, maybe sometimes a little silent to all of us, but a man of great dignity, great sincerity. Uh, she also has a dynamic mother whom she has portrayed um, as the go-between between the taciturn father, I know we'll all leap upon this word, and the three lively daughters. All of them had a mind of their own. In 2004, we all know that Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister of India, and over the 10 years, he led the country through opportunities, challenges, and there was also lots of controversy. But I think that's not the story. There's a bit of a backstory in this whole book, which is what we would like to focus on. Because, and here I will just seek your indulgence for one more minute to read from the blurb, which is that it charts the journey of a young boy growing up in undivided India, battling family hardship to pursue his dream of higher education, determining his intellectual and moral compass, and learning to live life on his own terms. It is equally about Gursharan Kaur, the woman with whom he made that life. Vivacious, very vivacious and talented Gursharan, the center of the family and of the circle of friends they shared, and about their three daughters, Upinder, Daman, and Amrit, growing up with a resilient mother and a workaholic father. I think he worked, what, from 6 in the morning to
Well, he normally
9
put
at
in
night.
12 to 16 hours a day, every day, including Sundays. So you could
Including
calculate.
Sundays. And it is because he would wake up so early in the morning and because he was also watching BBC on the television so assiduously that he could actually see the tsunami and warn others in the government about it.
That's a
That
news
was,
story. I haven't heard that
yes,
one.
yes, somewhere here. Well, there you are. You said I should surprise you, so I'd like to surprise you every now and then. Based on conversations with her parents and hours spent in libraries and archives, this honest and affectionate memoir provides new insights into the former Prime Minister and his wife, moving from Ga, Naushera and Peshawar, through Amritsar, Patiala and Hoshiarpur, to Chandigarh, Cambridge and Oxford, then New York, Bombay and Geneva, and on to New Delhi. This intimate portrayal of two lives is also the history of a nation unfolding over half a century. And now I come to my question to you, Daman,
But
which
you've
is,
already asked me a couple.
yes,
When
but
do when do I get to answer them?
I'm going to right now come to that. Um, you know, why should political biographies, and this is what we were talking about, the fact that they can be salacious and so on, why should they be negative? Why shouldn't we look at these in a positive light? Why shouldn't biographies in the future um, carry out a big responsibility to give us a perspective of history? Like the previous speakers were talking about on this platform, they were talking about how you get a different perspective when you're in the river, but when you come out of the river and you're on the river bank, you look at it differently. So you're looking at it from the banks.
Well, personally, I like reading biographies. I like reading autobiographies. I like reading memoirs. I like reading about real life. And I do think that any book about a personal story must look at both positive and negative aspects. It must look at the good as well as the bad. And this book, which I have written about my mother and my father, um, the idea that I had was that as I was growing older, I realized that I didn't really know my parents. I knew them as a daughter can know her parents. But I felt I did not know them as individuals in their own right. I had never looked at my mother as somebody else's mother, for instance, you know. I had never looked at my father as a man, an academician, a civil servant. It was always through the personal lens. And I, I think it's part of growing older, and it's part of also becoming a parent yourself. So when I had a family of my own, when I had a son of my own, then you start to look at your own parents a little more closely and try to understand what they are like as people. So my whole objective in writing this book was to get to know my parents. It's not as though I already knew them and I wanted to write the story. I actually wanted to get to know them. And so this book really is a story of their lives. It starts in the 1930s and it carries on till 2004. My father became prime minister in 2004. The book does not deal with the next 10 years for various reasons, which if you wish, I will at some point go into. Um, but it talks about who they were, what kind of families they came from, where did they live. Both of them came from what is now Pakistan. Both of them moved to Punjab. Um, as a married couple, they lived in different cities. They lived in Delhi, they lived in Bombay, they lived in New York, they lived in Oxford, Cambridge, Geneva. So this is really their journey. And it is also sort of the story of not only where did they go, what did they do, but it is also an account of what were they thinking. You know, what were the beliefs they had? What were the views they held? How did their views change over time? This is something that I found quite exciting, you know, to get to know as a daughter and as anyone. I think it's fascinating to try and get into somebody's mind. So this is a book about both my parents. Um, did you ask me very many more questions?
Lots more,
Huh?
lots more.
I would just like to say one thing.
Yes, let's hear from you rather than hear from me.
No, no, I come all the way to Kolkata to hear from you. So uh, I've spoken about my book on various occasions at various venues and almost everywhere. I would say everywhere, and sometimes more than once. People bring up my father's years as prime minister. And though my book is not about those years, I am quite happy to talk about whatever I know. So one of the comments that comes up over and over again is what a silent man he is. This is something which I actually have not really understood completely, and I would like to understand it from, you know, people such as you. Uh, these days, I am putting together a collection of everything my father said in the last 10 years. Um, there are a total of about 800 speeches which run into 5,000 pages. These are both extempore and they are prepared speeches on all sorts of occasions. They also include about 80 interactions with members of the media in which people were absolutely free to ask him whatever they wished. These are both in India and abroad. They are now on all kinds of occasions. Uh, there is a record of all the questions. There is a record of all the answers. Um, so I should also point out that every time my father traveled, which was quite considerably, both within India and abroad, he always had a team of media people who accompanied him. And he always had a sort of mini press conference, either on the way out or on the way in. So honestly, I don't really understand why people should label him as silent. So,
You're talking about this compilation of all his speeches and his media interaction. Now, in this particular book, you have done some very extensive research. And what is nice is that you have knit some of these speeches into your book here, which makes it quite interesting. Because, you know, then we are following his life story, and in between we are also following his um, views on developing the country and on, well, on economic policy and so on. And what I loved is that each of the chapters, when any of you go back and you pick up the book, each of the chapters also has detailed references to some of the speeches, which I like at the end. I think that's been extremely useful. It's a very, very well done book. Congratulations, Daman. I think that's the way a book should be. Instead of just a bland bibliography at the end, it goes chapter by chapter. I found that very illuminating. Talking about the media people who went along with him, there was one media advisor, Sanjay Baru, and